You know, every time I see you guys, my eyes tear. Because I know you guys are amazing change makers. And you guys are doing great work wherever you are. And some of you share with us what you do. And at Tostan, we deeply appreciate the amazing work you guys do when you go back. And even the sharing you do with us, the trust you have for us. It is not easy. And as I introduce this session, I just want to make a disclaimer that I know all organizations, all individuals who engage or who embark on development work have good intention. There is nobody who goes into development work, be it a local organization, an individual philanthropist in Africa, or an individual philanthropist abroad, in the global north. All of us have good intention. But sometimes the way we do things does not resonate with communities' values. We all have a lot of amazing things that we do. So today, as I want to go deep a bit into this, first I want to unpack some terminologies. And I know almost all of us in this session are familiar with this terminology. So Nana, next slide. Before we move on, I want to first of all just confirm and reinforce some of these definitions that are really familiar with some of us. And the first one is, what is resistance to change? What are social norms? What is psychological reactions? And what is storytelling? And I promise not to bore you, because this is a very interactive session. So before I start, I want to listen to maybe one or two of us. What is resistance to change, according to us? And the floor is open. Feel free to open your microphone and feel free to ask a question as well. Yeah. Raise your hand, not ask a question. Feel free to raise your hand if you want to contribute. Okay, I see Anna. Anna.
Yes.
Welcome. What is resistance to change?
Well, in my own understanding, not looking at any dictionary, it's like that the people want to stay in a permanent situation, the permanent norms. Mm-hmm. And you bringing in change, there's always a backlash. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm used to singing and you want me to stop, I will resist this because I don't want to change. Mm-hmm. So there's always a backlash. So that's what I understand, that resistance to change. People always feel that if I not knowing what they know the certainty, but they don't know the uncertainty. They know what is happening now, but they don't know what will happen tomorrow. So they resist for that transition to happen in their lives.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. I've seen two more hands. Someone else, please just open your mic.
All right.
Okay. Amos has his hand up first.
Okay, Amos.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amos Leuka from Kenya. And in my understanding, resistance is wanting to remain what you are, or doing what you are used to do, whether it's right or wrong. That's my understanding of resistance to change.
Thank you, Amos. There is another hand.
Nabil.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. So, like what the various speakers have just said with regards to the word resistance, to me, is a pushback or something like opposing for you to accept a change, even when you see the reality that this is very effective and it will help you to change your life system or or in terms of development, but you still decided to oppose or to make a pushback. That is what I understand from resistance.
Thank you. Thank you. Nathaniel, maybe the last one, because we have a long day. Nathaniel.
My hand has been up. You didn't see it, huh?
Thanks a lot, Godfrey. I think resistance to change is that which makes us remain comfortable with the status as it is. We're just so comfortable with the state of things as it is that we don't want to see change. We don't want things to alter. And anybody who wants to introduce anything that looks like change, we resist it. And it could be for various reasons, but we just choose to resist it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Nana, you were saying something? Is there someone we are leaving out?
Madam Aji has been raising her hand.
Oh, sorry, Aji. I don't want wahala. Please, Aji. 1 second.
I wanted to drop the hand because Nathaniel just mentioned what I wanted to say. For me, I would just call it the comfort zone mentality or syndrome. So that's just what I would just add. So you just remaining where you are. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Now let's see what we define it from our side. Maybe Nana next. And it's actually what everyone actually has said, and Ganan has also added that. So maybe allow me to read this. Resistance to change is the unwillingness to adapt to new circumstances or ways of doing things, or reluctance of people to adopt to change. This opposition can range from expressing their resistance publicly or unknowingly resisting change through micro-resistance, language, or sometimes it also involves general actions where community openly just come out and say, hey, you guys are not doing this. So that is the first thing I want us to understand as we move with this conversation. That is really, really critical in when we talk about why do communities sometimes resist change? Why do they react to the narrative we present and the stories we present? So next slide. So now, in connection with that, we want to look at social norms. And I think almost all of us here have defined social norms. And you have some memories around how we define social norms or how we identify when social norms are in place. So I open the floor again for 2 or 3 volunteers to tell us what are social norms and what really maintain them in place. Open. The floor is open now. Just open your mic and feel free. Any hands up? Hey, hey, hey.
You are taking us back to class, eh?
I know everyone who have answers here. We said there were 3 things.
Yes, you said there is when the social norm is in place, there's a reciprocal what's that word? Reciprocal. Hey, how did
try. You are there.
Oh, the word escaped me, but reciprocal somebody help me. Then there is
volunteer
also
to come in. Amos. Juliana.
Nabil has his hand up. Nabil. Majuma.
Yes, Majuma, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Hi, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're listening in from. I would maybe just want to jump into what are social norms. To me, social norms are could be informal like how do I say, when we talk about informal, those are rules which are guided by in terms of like the white collar jobs. You'll find that there's certain way that somebody has to dress on. There are those shared and like the things, ideology that we share and agree upon as a group. Then we have like the behavioral one, which is expectations. There's a way when you get somewhere, you are expected to have like a certain decorum. In for example, like my first time to be in Senegal, I felt so awkward walking around with trouser when everybody within the room were like in those nice kitenge dresses. So yeah, so the greetings, the dress code, the language, the gender roles, the norms, yeah, something like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are some hands up before we could share what we have because of time.
Madam Sadiat.
Yeah, thank you, Nana. Thank you, Godfrey. Social norms are rules which affect a certain social group, a group of people defined by geography, location. Then these rules attract reward when you do it, and they also attract a kind of punishment when you don't do it. Something acceptable by a group of people, that when you do these things, you get applaud, they applaud you for doing it. And when you don't do it, there is that reward of punishment, sort of, for avoiding them or not doing them.
Thank you, Sadiat. So Nana, next slide. So I'm just summarizing what all of us just said. Social norms are social rules that uphold particular behavior practices. And also the three things that I mentioned, they involve reciprocal expectation from within a specific group or a reference network or a social network. And also there are sanctions, positive or negative. Positive if you conform, if you do them. Negative if you don't comply. And one very important thing is they also carry social values. And these are three things that we really need to understand. As much as there are social rules, there are three critical things: reciprocal expectations within a reference group or social network, and there are sanctions, and positive, which can be positive or negative, and then there are also social values. Next, and maybe these I might not ask a lot because of time. Allow me just to refresh everyone so that we don't take a lot of time. So what is psychological reactance? And I would really start by saying this. Imagine reactance as a feeling you get when someone tells you what to do and you really don't like it. It is like when your parents tell you to clean your room and you want to do the opposite just because they told you to. And this is something that is very common. I'll share an example with my daughter. My daughter, sometimes before I understood these psychological reactions things, and a lot of thanks to Molly, I used to force her to do things. And she could actually do the opposite. I never understood why, and I could judge her and say, hey, she's rude. This child is maybe learning something else, or maybe somebody is teaching her something else. I did not know that human beings, naturally, sometimes we do these things and, yeah. So that reactance, it is when you push back against being told to do certain things that you don't want to do, or when somebody wants to make you feel like they are in control of what you want to do. So the fear of that control sometimes make people to resist even to good things. And a lot of it we will discuss today. Why do people react the way they react? Sometimes us, as Godfrey, as I gave you the example of my daughter, I contributed a lot to her reactions. And that one did not mean that she did not respect me. She did. But the way I presented myself, the vocabularies I used, made her to behave in that way. Next slide. So as we defined this during the seminar, I know all of us remember this. This is very familiar. Psychological reactance often occurs when a person or a group of people is heavily pressured to accept a certain view, attitude, or behavior by someone else. As community development practitioners, we are empowered, we are educated, we know what is right for the community. But most of the time we assume that the community is at the same level with us. And we expect them to accept that like immediately. And we think it is like something that is easy. Like for us who went through so many years in colleges, in seminars, in education to understand that communities sometimes don't operate the same way we operate. Yeah. So, and I know this has happened to so many of us. I'm just trying not to get into that. And psychological reactors can even cause person or group to adopt or strengthen a view or attitude that is contrary to what was intended. And we've seen this. And I know some of us will share their experience when they were trying to work on certain social norms and all that. So one thing that I also want to highlight as we get into this session today is that I want to look at reactions and imperative commands in messaging. Persuasive messages arose reactions, especially when forcefully or controlling language is used. I have been a victim of this, not a victim. I have been part of this, where I worked in organizations where we used a lot of narratives or messages that were actually using these imperative commands, mentality, where we were like, hey, we have been funded, we are the experts, and we know what is good for you. So we used a lot of words like you should, you ought, you must, you need, because if you do this, you will not get this. And a lot of these I experienced a lot during HIV programming, where I worked for a lot of years before joining Tostan. And we could tell people, you must use condom, you must abstain, you must do this. And guess what? People are doing opposite. Yeah, and I was privileged to be part of a study that confirmed that some people who are using condom were using it maybe the first time, and afterwards they could not use it because there was this thing that was called trusted partner myth. You see? Because they were thinking, okay, he said we use it, and that was him. And me, I already trust this partner. I have used it, but I don't see anything. So we realized that our messaging was bringing a lot of issues during that time. And I wish I could go back to those days and understand that we were not asking them what they wanted. We were actually telling them what they should do. And sometimes they did not even understand why it was important for them to prevent themselves. They were thinking they were doing it for us because we were even giving free condoms and all that. So they was, yeah. So it was about us, not them. So I don't want to go deep into that slide. And then also judgmental vocabularies and psychological reactions. I think we mentioned a lot of this during the seminar. And also just to highlight this, it is also important to know that sometimes using judgmental language in our narratives can make people to even develop more reactance against what we are doing. We might think we are helping, but we are actually inciting more reactance. And this is not just what Tostan says. This has also been proven with a lot of studies that have shown that certain languages we use, like the ones you are seeing on the slide, sometimes elicits more and propel or activates more resistance or more reactance. Next slide. Yeah. How are all these related narratives in related to what we do. Sometimes people might try to make you do things or act in ways that you don't want. When this happens, you feel stressed, upset, or even unhappy. I know some of you have shared this. When you are forced to do certain things, it even affects your mental well-being. Even in those communities where we work, when we tell them what to do against what they are really doing, without them knowing why they need to stop or why they need to end it, it elicits or it triggers more resistance. It is important for development workers like all of us, or people perceived to be in power, or who power here means we have more information, we have more advantage, we know what we're gonna do, to adopt respectful approaches, so that we also allow people to understand that they also have an option to make choices. When people respect your feelings and let you make, and you allow them to make decisions, it can actually help in terms of enable them to have that mental health. Like in some communities, I don't want to mention, but I've seen some of the partners here will tell you that as we speak now, there's a huge resistance in most of the interventions or programs in that community, because communities have been fatigued. All programs that are going, telling them what they need to do and not asking them what they want. And even not having conversation with them on how things need to be done, and what options they choose. Yeah. So I want to end there and maybe open for any questions before we move to the next presentation. Now I open the floor. Any question, any reaction, because that was just a refresher. And actually, thanks to Ganan has really brought a lot of amazing insight. And maybe Nana, if you could highlight some of the insights on the chart, I would really.
I'm going to start with giving a good example so that, thank you very much, Godfrey. As you were talking, I was thinking of something that happened, and this, I can relate from what happens in my house. Yes, this weekend, my husband and his friends, they had like a little get together. So they finished all the milk in the house. And I was supposed to put it's usually me, I put things on a list, to say, oh, shopping list, we're supposed to get this. And I assumed, oh, since we used up, he will remember to get these things. And when I wanted to remind him, I said, you people used up all the milk. So I assumed that you would know. And he didn't react immediately, but I could see that his face changed. And later he then said to me, when you were saying that thing, it sounded accusatory. So the way he reacted to how I presented, so it made me laugh. And I remembered when Molly was teaching us psychological reactance theory. And I also noticed that when I try to talk to people about something that I'm passionate about, and I tell them, this is how you do it, even within this, our community, you people have noticed that now we do a lot of surveys. We do a lot of question asking. You notice the tone of Anne's messaging, my messaging, we have changed our tone because we have learned that when you tell people, you do this, you do that, you have to do this, fill this form, do this, nobody wants to do it because you're telling them what to do. But the moment you change to, do you think this works? Or maybe you can do this. And I also noticed, like I was telling you about this milk in my house, I then apologized. Yesterday, I wanted something that I know that he clearly forgot to get. So I said, oh, please, I don't know if you're passing by this week. Would you help me get? I said, oh, yes, very happy. And, just told me, make a list of what you want and I'll just get them on my way. The way we communicate to people, I don't know if you've had that experience. You can share some of your experience. The language you use, the tone that you use, I've learned that the words kind of directly affect how people do what you want them to do or listen to what you want them to do. If you've had such experience in your work, in your organization, at an organizational level, please unmute yourself and share. We have about 10 minutes before the next slide. Anybody? Hands up?
And also, Nana, maybe the Francophone team.
Yes.
I see a lot of
I've
comments
seen
from
Mukhtar.
Francophone. Yeah, you
Mukhtar?
can also open up, yeah.
Mukhtar? Hello? Mukhtar?
Oui, bonjour.
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 Bonjour, Mukhtar.
Bonjour. Merci, c'est pas de questions, c'est juste une contribution à l'intervention de notre cher ami Godfrey.
Okay, go ahead. Sure.
Voilà, je pense que c'est la notion de réactance psychologique, c'est extrêmement important pour nous, acteurs du développement communautaire. Je ne sais pas comment on va procéder. Je m'arrête, l'interprète interprète, ou quand je finis, il résume. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait?
Merci.
Ok,
Merci,
donc
Mukhtar.
voilà, merci. Donc je disais que ce n'est pas une question, c'est juste une petite contribution modeste à l'intervention de notre cher ami Godfrey. Voilà, le plus souvent, nous, agents de développement communautaire, on a l'habitude de dire, ah, telle communauté est difficile, telle communauté est compliquée. Mais sans se poser la question, pourquoi la communauté est dans cette attitude? Le plus souvent, c'est nous-mêmes qui sommes à la base de cette attitude-là, par la façon de s'habiller, par la façon d'aborder la communauté, par la façon d'interagir avec la communauté.
Merci beaucoup.
Voilà, donc nous
Merci
devons être
beaucoup, Mukhtar.
conscients vraiment
C'est important.
Tout à fait, tout à fait. Merci.
Merci. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Mukhtar is saying that these communities, sometimes we approach them and we think that they're a difficult community, but we kind of don't self-reflect because we go to them and we don't look at the way we dress, the way we talk to them, the way we behave when we're in their community. So we just label these communities difficult, but it's actually that we're not self-reflecting. This is a very important point. Thank you, Mukhtar. Mr. Nathaniel?
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Nana. I wanted to just add that people are very perceptive. When we are communicating to people, and especially we want them to
Mr. Nathaniel, we can't
make any changes. Apart said, lot. Sorry, are you hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you now.
Okay, thank you. So I was saying body language is very central apart from the way we speak. People, whether in group contexts or in individual interpersonal conversations, people detect very easily when the body language is saying something different from the words, and that affects people too. Also, this feeling of neglect. I mean, people bring together to every context assumptions over a period of time. So when somebody feels you've always neglected me, then suddenly you're appearing so nice and you want me to do something else. So people don't just respond to the moment. So like what Mukhtar said, I mean, in the context of community engagement, people are not just responding to what is said at that moment. They are also bringing forward perceptions, attitudes, and so much. So it really influences how people respond to any persuasion to adopt any change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nathaniel. Dr. Hadiza? Dr. Hadiza, your hand is up. Okay. Madam Anna, you had your hand up.
Yes, I was just waiting for my colleagues.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
There are two
Am I speaking to Nana?
No, so
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, but after Dr. Hadiza, Madam Anna, you can go. Sorry, I think she's having.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Good afternoon.
My own experience is from a different perspective. That is, I want to relate psychological reactance with the academia. I want to know if you can hear me because I can't hear anybody.
Yes, we just muted. We're listening to you.
Yes, we can hear you, Dr. Prof. Prof.
Okay. My experience is that when students, especially postgraduate students, come to present their work at seminars, you find that lecturers tend to talk to them anyhow, and immediately you see psychological reactance. And with my experience from Tostan, I always say, please allow him or allow her to explain what he means or what he wants or how he wants to go about the work. And in the end, you find that the student is able to bring out brilliant ideas that everyone agrees with. And then the whole atmosphere becomes more relaxed and more friendly. So this is my own experience within my working place.
Thank you very much. Madam Anna.
Yes. My experience, I mean, like my colleague talking about the academic platform in the organization, before this time, it's like I had wanted everything to be done. It's like do. But from my experience, with Tostan, I think I've tried to change my tone. It's like, what can we do? How can we do it? What do you think? Do you have any idea? How can we overcome this? Like I always put a question in a very positive way so that we can all be engaged. Because like when you say go and do this, it's like because you are the director, they will do it, but they will not do it in a way that is pleasing to them. Because at the end of the day, they want their salary. But when you talk to them as a group, as a family, what I've seen that they even go extra mile to do something. In fact, they will suggest, at the end of the day, what we can do better. So for me, I mean, it's really good that we don't impose, but we actually ensure that there should be an inclusive discussion, inclusive agreement, inclusive partnership within your organization and outside the organization. It's like in the communities, we are working. It was difficult for me to accept Tostan ideology, I mean, the strategy, because like we go there, we tell them what we want to do, we try to impose on them. But when we try to reflect back, we said, okay, what can we do better? And you can see the response so positive. What we are seeing are positive, they suggest that we say, okay, we'll go with it. I say, well, if we go with it, if there's a failure, we all failed. If we succeed, we all succeed. I think that is really resonating well in the community and with our work in the organization.
Thank you so much, Madam Anna. Thank you so much. We will take just one more contribution before we go to the next slide, and we have opportunity to listen after. You can also add your thoughts in the chat, please. You can add your thoughts in the chat. Okay, Madam Pauline.
Oui, bonjour à tous et à toutes. Voilà. L'expérience que j'ai à partager, que avant, quand nous étions dans les communautés, on imposait les choses sur les communautés. Parfois, si on apportait quelque chose, même si la communauté ne voudrait pas que si, par exemple, si c'est les fourrages qu'on met ici, on impose. Et c'est les impositions là qui faisaient que parfois les choses ne peuvent pas porter fruit. Parce qu'ils vont accepter, comme vous l'avez dit, juste par plaisir, pour ne pas qu'ils perdent, mais après, là, ils ne vont plus l'utiliser. Par exemple, les latrines, ils ne peuvent plus l'utiliser. Et ça jouait profondément sur, ça joue profondément sur les ONG locales. Et ça, c'est pas bon pour nous. Et encore, l'implication de la communauté dans nos activités. Ça, c'est un truc qu'on banalise, mais ça joue beaucoup sur nous autres là. Parce que si ils sont pas impliqués, tout le monde n'est pas impliqué, c'est pas bon pour l'organisation. Mais quand vous partez dans une communauté, vous travaillez et que enfants, jeunes, vieux, les religieux, les autorités, tout le monde est impliqué, les femmes et les hommes, ça peut porter fruit. Donc, Tostan nous a vraiment mis sur les rails à travers leur expérience. C'est un peu ça, mon expérience. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Madam Pauline. In summary, Madam Pauline is saying that if you go into a community, in case you didn't hear the English translation, if you go into a community, in the past, they will go in and say, well, this is what we want to do for you. Even if the community says no, they don't listen, but they saw that that was not working. And now they understood that it was because of this reactance. And now they do things differently and they can see the change clearly. We're going to bring in Godfrey again. Now that you know about the psychological reactance theory, now that you have refreshed your mind, how are we devising stories or narratives for change? Godfrey, I'm ready for you again.
Thank you, Nana. I dropped off at some point, but I just wanted to raise one thing that Ganan, my colleague and my senior Ganan just mentioned. That is very important, is that there is power in asking and there is power in listening. And patience is a value that I wish all organizations that are engaged in community-led change could embrace and embed. Embrace and embed in the work. We need a lot of patience to achieve sustainable results. People achieve results, but me, I always have questions sometimes afterwards. Are they sustainable? If you want to achieve sustainable results, it's important to listen and it's important to ask. And when you go to communities, we are experts, yes, but we should also acknowledge that communities are also experts. Because remember, these people have been surviving even before we went into those communities. And we need to acknowledge and appreciate that unique resilience. And that is what Tostan calls strength-based approach. If you can apply that unique resilience, then a plus for us as development agency. I just wanted to echo what Ganan said on the chat as we transition into the next session on devising stories on narrative for change. And as I do this, I first of all just want to look at some very critical aspects of when you are developing stories of change, there are certain things we really need to consider. And the first one is shaping messages and choosing right vocabularies. This depends on you. At Tostan, we are very careful about vocabularies we use, and we shape messages based on communities' interests. Whatever we do, how we design things are based on communities' interests and communities' way of perceiving communications. And also, as Molly always mentioned, we learned this as well. We did a lot of mistakes in the past on some of the vocabularies we used, some of the messages we presented, and even some of the words we used. And we decided now to embrace this. So when you are shaping messages and choosing the right vocabularies, it is important to understand that messages may fail to be appropriate and well presented when not shaped. Actually, you can share a message and it can actually be the opposite of what you intended to achieve. And it's important to know that message is a concise and persuasive statement. It needs to really serve the interests of those who are in it. So let's look at what are some of the components of messages or component of a message. The first important thing is the content and the idea. And the question you need to ask yourself as you are crafting or designing your message in any way you want it. Maybe it is a written, maybe it is a video, maybe it is acted in the community, maybe it is through awareness creation, you use posters. The mode might differ, but it's important to understand the content. So you need to ask yourself certain questions. The first one is, what do I or we want to convey? If you're an individual, what do you want? If you're an organization, what do you want to convey? What situation do you want to change? And if you want to change a situation, is the community at the center of designing this message? Or is this just your own thinking? On the content and idea, those three are very critical. Language and vocabulary. What are the best words to use to put our message across, or my message across? Who will be credible person mostly to convey this message? If you're doing a story, who is at the center? Who is at the center of your story? And what is the tone that you're using? And what are the vocabularies that you're using? Are these vocabularies familiar? And then go back to psychological reactants. Are these vocabularies judgmental? Are they shaming? Are they blaming? You need to ask yourself, yeah. And then the time and the place. There are times when we have very amazing messages, but we convey these messages at the wrong time and at the wrong places. What is community saying about your preferred audience? You can have a very good message, but is it for everyone? Or is it for a specific audience? Or what are the seasons? Like, I know when people have been talking about certain campaigns and certain initiatives, people round them around certain events or certain cultural events that are very sensitive. And they receive huge backlash. So it is very important to understand that. So message design and shaping, there are three questions we find useful when shaping messages that are really critical. And I think I've already talked about some of this. What do you want to get across at a particular audience? Is the objective and the content? And often, as far as people get in designing their message, if you really want to deliver messages that are both useful and clear, then the next two questions are critical. So this is just like a challenger to you guys, especially for those who design messages. It is important for you to know, what does your audience want to know about your narrative? How will they benefit from listening to you? You may need to do some audience research, and that is what at Tostan we call visioning. Value versus practice deliberation. You really need to understand all these things before you can develop your message. If, for example, your main goal, what you have been funded around is FGC, and you know that this community, FGC is a very sensitive topic, how would you prefer to shape or design your message so that it doesn't trigger more resistance and make you a target And what would the audience get wrong about your narrative? No, these are questions. The reason why I'm sharing this is these are questions that people assume when people design message. People always we get excited that, oh, we have this perfect. But do we ask ourselves, what will they get wrong about this? Do we self-interrogate ourselves and say, hey, how do we feel about this? And this comes back to, are they at the center? So when you have considered your answers to the above 3 questions, your answers to question 2 and 3 should shape what you originally designed. You're ready to design your core message.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you. Is Ibrahim, are you on me?
Yes, Ibrahim Suare.
Yeah, please.
So I'm a language and interculture facilitator in Peace Corps, Senegal. I mean, it's also important to know, not only just like, so I notice it's just like the question start with what, but also the how is very important. Okay. How do they want to learn, or how do they want you to deliver this message? Okay. The what is important, but also it's important to take into account the how.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. And that we are coming into that. Yeah, it is somewhere around. Yeah, it's very important. But first we wanted to focus on on what. What do you want to convey? Yeah. Do you even have knowledge around that? Do we even have discussions with experts or people who have been in this? And I would recommend, for example, if you're working around gender norms, FGC, and you're part of the practice, I would recommend you listen a lot to Molly, some of the people who have been in this space for a very long time, like Dam, and some of our staff in Senegal who have seen how when you don't design your message well, you can actually trigger psychological reactions. Yeah. So I will go fast on this because of time. Key points to remember when shaping your messages: find out what people want to know. It's very, very important. Acknowledge uncertainties. This will help your long-term credibility as well, because people assume a lot about this. We just design and we don't care about what will happen if they don't accept. Sometimes you have to be open and say, hey, yes, I'm the best designer, but not everyone appreciate my design. What if those who don't appreciate my design are vocal and they come out? Do I have any response? You see? Yeah. Okay, do I think about that? And then put information into perspective. It is important not to raise expectation beyond what you could deliver to minimize risk. Sometimes we say, oh, this is bad. Oh, our message goes, stop this. But do you think everyone is okay with that? You know, do they have enough information to make certain decisions? Are they sure that they are safe if they decide to abandon or if they decide to take certain actions? Remember what we always say, seeing is believing. This is where public declarations come in, very handy, to really make people feel safe, that whatever decision they are making, everyone else is comfortable with that decision. Take care when simplifying information. Sometimes you might simplify it too much and you might lose the importance, or sometimes you might even complicate everything and people might not even understand what you're doing. Next, Nana. I don't want to define this because I know this was done in the previous session that we had. So just move next, just to highlight something that is very critical. And this is what I think my friend was talking about. Ibrahim was talking about. Key components of a story. What do you want to say? I already mentioned that, the idea and the content. Why do you want to say it? And how do you want to tell it to people? These are things that are very critical in storytelling and message designing, but sometimes we assume them. So as we move to the next step, where we are going to try to design our stories, I want us to remember this slide, the components of your story. What do you want to say? Why do you want to say it? And how do you want to tell it to people? Thank you very much, and over to Nana.
Thank you very much, Godfrey. Thank you so much. Thank you. Again, there is translation. And please feel free to repeat this in French when I'm done. There is translation. If you have not been, if you did not join on time, we shared where to find translation. I'm going to share the screen again so that you can see. There is translation, so you can listen in English or in French. So there is translation. Feel free to listen in English or in French. Okay, the floor is open. What have you learned? What would you do differently if you were telling a story? What do you want to add to what Godfrey had said? Our initial plan was to have a small workshop where people would try to retell some of the stories or some of the messaging that they had done. If you are still up for it, we can use 10 minutes breakout groups and we go quickly. 10 minutes breakout group. The assignment in the breakout group is think of one story. One story. It's going to be big breakout groups. So it's not going to be small breakout groups. We're going to have, we can take 3 breakout groups if you want that to happen. We would have 3 breakout groups. In the assignment is think about a story you have told before or a messaging you want to deliver to your community, anything. Look at these 3 components. I will put them on the screen. I will also put it in the chat. What do you want to say? Why do you want to say it? How do you want to tell it to people? What would you do differently if you were presenting a story? Feel free to go to the breakout rooms. The rooms will be for 10 minutes only. 10 minutes only. And we get to ask 2 people in each of the rooms to tell us, oh, there's a lot of people. 3 rooms will not do, so 4 rooms. 10 minutes only, 10 minutes only, 10 minutes. Okay, so the rooms are all open. You feel free to go to the rooms. One room is the French room, actually. So room 4 is French room. If you're not in the right room, please. Yeah, there's a French speaker in each room. There's a French speaker in each room, so that works. Okay, Ganon, I understand. Feel free to go to a different room if you don't feel comfortable in the room. Thank you, Ganon. We're just the only ones in the big room now.
Yeah, for room 3, I think our conversation was very fantastic, and we have some meaningful stories that maybe if time permits, or we would love to share 3 relevant stories.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Michael Nabil has his hands raised. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Nana. So for us in our session, like we learned a lot. Like people have to discuss about issues, and their stories were somehow amazing, really, stemming from environmental protection issues and how their personal interest and behavior has actually impacted their community. So it was kind of impressive and inspiring.
Thank you. At least we can see how what Godfrey was saying is not abstract, it applies. Any other person want to share? Mr. Ibrahim Nabi, you wanted to share from your group?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, from our group, 3 people share some relevant stories. One related to community accountability and transparency, which is very key, and also the other one related to human rights, and also the last one on climate change. I think from the section that we just listened, if we all put that into practice, these are some of our daily challenges that almost always at our doorstep. But if we put those learning into practice, I think we can able to mitigate those challenges in our future implementations.
Thank you very much. I want to ask one question while as we go home today, as we engage in our thinking and applying what we have learned. I want to ask one question. Can we see how we communicate and this theory, can we all see how it relates to world peace? Can anybody say how it relates to world peace? Anyone at all? Yes, Madam Anna.
Yeah, from the starting, I realized that the problem of conflicts, the problem of unrest is because that in the past we have had this do, not bringing us together to discuss and to speak and to bring together what we can do together or how we can do it together. And we realized that, because of this do and don't has actually communicated in a way that people's minds have been so snared that, they resist things and it ends into conflict. But as I now see where we are coming, I said if we can work in the way that we today, from where Nana, you started with us, and Godfrey come on board, and we have actually managed ourselves, though we are not together, but we are able to see reasons how we can put our stories together. This kind of concerted effort will be able to realize us in how we can maintain peace in our community, peace in our environment, peace in the nation. But because we have diverse thinking, the social norm of the nation that we have to do it this way, and it has to be that way, and people resist, so we have conflict. And it's an example of Sierra Leone, and now today we are trying to see how we can maintain the peace that we are enjoying, so that there will be no conflict. Yes, I see how it's related to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Hannah. That was a very beautiful, beautiful explanation. Thank you so much. Does anyone else have another example of how they see this relating to world peace? Does anyone have any example? think about the sphere of influence that you learned from the TTC, how one thing impacts another, who, you know, reaches out, who is very influential. Think about that. Can you imagine how all of these things are linked? Any hands? No hands up. Okay. Thank you very much. I want to give a special recognition to our TTC, like Nigerians say, Ogas, our big TTC Ogas, Birima and Dam. Thank you so much. I see Mr. Idrissa Keita. Thank you so much for being here today. Please turn on your cameras. Let's take a picture. Why are we not seeing our wonderful faces? Turn on your cameras. Turn on your cameras. Turn on your cameras. Let me see the wonderful faces in today's learning session. I hope that you have enjoyed yourself. I hope that it was useful to you. I hope that we will continue to learn from each other. It was really nice. Hi, Mr. Kola. Hi. See, if they did not turn on this camera now, you were hiding in the background.
How you doing?
I'm fine. Remy Juice, all of you were hiding in the background. Look at your wonderful, Mr. Abubakri.
Yeah, how are you,
Look
Nana?
at all of you. Majuma, look at all of you. Look at that. Hello, Marie.
Hello, Nana. Hello, everyone.
Juice, how are you doing?
Hi. Okay, I'm going to try to take a picture. It's going to be a couple of pictures because our screens are full. So the first one, you say cheese. Okay, let me see. I take a second one again. Say cheese and just hold it. Cheese.
Yes.
Okay, oh, I see the cheese. Okay, let me take from the second screen so that I can get everybody. Second screen. Cheese, cheese. Everybody say cheese.
Cheese, cheese, cheese.
Remy Juice, I like this, your smile.
Hello, Dan. Yes.
Hi, Joshua. It's been a while.
Hello,
How are you?
Amos.
I'm fine.
Hello.
Idrissa, where are you?
How are you, Nana?
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
From Malawi. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Madam
It's not like
Juliana.
seeing you
Oh,
all.
nice to meet you again.
Adanami.
Good. Nice to see you again.
Thank you so much, Birima. Thank you so much, everyone.
Madam
Hello,
Magdalene,
Dan.
nice to see you. I didn't see Madam Magdalene when I came to Nigeria.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Please don't forget to do the survey. Please do take the survey before you go. Take the survey before you go. Very important. It helps us. It helps us to serve you better. Please take the survey before you go. Please take the survey. Don't run away. Take the survey. There's also a post-event survey that you get once you exit Zoom. They're very short, 3 questions, not long at all. Not long at all. Take the survey. It helps us to continue to do things that keep you happy and active. Yes, we will share we'll reshare our community knowledge base link. We'll share the slides in English and in French. Je suis partagé slides au français et anglais. So my French is horrible, but you get the point.
Hi, Nana.
Hey, Magdalene. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate.
Bye-bye.
Bye. If you finish the poll, you can go.
Bye.
Finish the
Yeah,
poll.
I finished. So, Mr. Dam, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, me too.
How's everything?
Yes.
And thanks for the coordination.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
That was a wonderful presentation.
Yes.